time, I call the meeting of the Rock-Hawcreek School Corporation to order at 7:03 p.m. All members are present tonight except Mr. Miller and Mr. Rose. Tonight we're going to start with the first item on the list is the approval of the minutes from the October 21st, 2025 meeting.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve the minutes of October 21st, 2025.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Next up, we have public comment. Is there any public that wish to speak tonight? Hearing none, we will move on to item number 5, approval of payroll and vendor claims.
We have payroll dates of October 24th, 2025.
I move we accept payroll and vendor claims as presented.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion on the payroll and vendor claims? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Next up, item number 6, personnel, Mr. Price.
Just one personnel item here for you tonight, and that is a list of a few volunteers in your packet. I recommend that we approve the volunteers as presented.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve the volunteers as presented.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion on the volunteer list? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes.
That concludes the personnel section.
All right, next item up is the budget actions for 2026.
Give me just a second to pull up my resolutions. All right, first up we have the 26 to 28 capital project expenditure plan resolution. In that the statutory requirements of the Department of Local Government Finance have been duly met, it is recommended that the Board of School Trustees approve the following resolution. That resolution reads, adopted this by the School Board of Trustees of Flat Rock Hawcreek School Corporation, whereas a capital projects plan has been established, and whereas the Board of Trustees is required under Indiana Code to adopt a plan for capital projects. And whereas the Board of Trustees held a public hearing on this fund plan on the 3rd day of November 2025 in the boardroom adjacent to the central office, therefore be it resolved by the Board of Trustees that the plan entitled the 2628 Capital Projects Plan, this resolution is adopted by the Board of Trustees in respect to capital projects. Be it further resolved, the Board of Trustees shall submit a certified copy of this resolution to the Department of Local Government Finance as required by Indiana Code. Adopted this 3rd day of November 2025. So, Mr. President, I recommend the board approve this 26 to 28 capital project expenditure plan resolution.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion this evening? Hearing none, all those in favor of the resolution signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes.
All right, and likewise we have a 26 through 2030 bus replacement resolution that's required for our budgeting purposes. And the statutory requirements have been duly met. It is recommended the Board of Trustees approves the following resolution. Whereas the school bus replacement plan has been established, and whereas the Board of Trustees is required under Indiana Code to adopt such a plan. Whereas the Board of Trustees held a public hearing on the plan today, and therefore be it resolved the Board of Trustees that the plan entitled 26 to 2030 bus replacement plan, this resolution, and is adopted as the Board of Trustees plan with respect to school bus replacement. Be it further resolved, the school Board of Trustees shall submit a certified copy of this resolution to the Department of Government Finance as required under Indiana Code, adopted this 3rd day of November. Mr. President, I recommend the board approve the 26 to 2030 bus replacement plan resolution.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve the 2026 to 2030 bus replacement plan resolution.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion on the bus replacement plan resolution? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes.
If you can't do it correct. All right, sorry. We're trying to work out our technology for the thank you for that. Next up, we have our 26 budget. The budget estimate was advertised at $13,348,620, along with an associated maximum levy of $3,663,000, and a tax rate of 1.1448 being adopted is calculated using an assessed value that was lower than this year's certified valuation. Final budgets, levies, and tax rates may be lowered following analysis by the DLGF and use of certified net assessed values supplied by the Bartholomew County government officials. For the year beginning January 1, 2026 and ending December 31 of 2026, the budget totals, levies, and tax rates are as follows. Rainy day fund, $35,000 budget, 0 levy, 0 tax rate. Debt service is $637,540 on the budget side. The levy would be $636,000, with an associated tax rate of 0.1988. Referendum debt capital is $1,520,000 budget, $1,519,000 levy, with a 0.4747 tax rate. Education fund is the budget $8,128,902 with a 0 levy and a 0 tax rate. Operations fund budget $3,027,178 with a levy of $1,508,000 and a tax rate of 0.4713. Mr. President, I recommend the board adopt the 2026 budget, levies, and tax rates as submitted.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion on tax levies? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes.
All right, that concludes the budget action.
All right, next item up is the superintendent's report.
First up, we have a notice from the Indiana Department of Education that I'd like to share with you. Pursuant to Indiana Code 20-28-9-28, school corporations are required to spend at least 62% of our applicable state tuition support on teacher compensation each fiscal year. This memo serves as notice that our Form 9 information was collected for Flat Rock-Hawcreek School Corporation and shows that we spent less than 62% of our state tuition support on teacher compensation during fiscal year 25. So thus, our teacher compensation requirement was not met. The teacher compensation included teachers identified by Indiana Code, which were coded for Form 9 financial information as objects 100 through 299, subcategories 30 through 39, and 62 through 66. The Form 9 information that was submitted for fiscal years 24 and 25 reflect the following. Fiscal year 25 state tuition support was a little over $8 million, $8,196,145 to be exact. We spent on teacher compensation $5,004,227, which was 61.0 by less than 1%. So pursuant to Indiana Code, we must acknowledge this in a board meeting, which we're doing right now, and then we have within 30 days we have to put this on our corporation website to say that we failed to meet the 62%. So any questions regarding this memo from the Indiana Department of Education and our requirements under Indiana Code? Okay. And just a note on that, we continue to try to move the needle when we sit down and bargain with teachers. You know, we ratified the contract this year, we gave increases again, so I think we're doing what we can to make sure we're hitting the marks, trying to hit those marks, and we came up just a little bit short of this year. So, with that, we will move on. Facilities Director J.B. Royers recommend that we purchase a new 8-foot Boss snowplow and a Boss 1100 salt spreader for snow removal at an estimated cost of $12,580.33 from Premier Outdoors. The cost would include installation and wiring of both pieces of equipment. Mr. President, I recommend the board approve the purchase of the 8-foot Boss snowplow and salt spreader as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I think that will pretty well assure that we don't have any snow this year.
Yeah, that's what I said. As soon as we get it, it won't snow. If we don't get it, it will give us another couple of feet.
Find one every year.
Yeah, no kidding.
All right, I'm gonna pull up.
All right, we've got a motion and a second on the purchase of the Boss snowplow and Boss salt spreader. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion passes.
All right, I think that's everything for action items. We do have a principal report from Mr. Wheeler. I am pulling that up now, and we're gonna mirror it on TV.
Kyle, did you try the lowercase k? Because I noticed mine does that work, but with an uppercase it won't work.
I didn't try. I got locked out though before.
Kyle, can you change the input to Apple TV? To the side there, down, right there. Yeah, if you click that,
Apple TV.
it should say input. And then over there it says Apple. And then you'll have to turn on the Apple TV. There should be a remote there for you. Thank you.
Thank you. Maybe.
There you go.
Sorry, it was an application.
Well, no, we're still trying to figure this technology all out. We don't use these boards near enough in central office. So you'll just have to tell me when you want me to.
No worries.
Katie, will you demonstrate just a little bit?
Well, good evening. I was running through what I should present tonight, and honestly, I mean, there were multiple things we could have talked about, whether it was, you know, we've had some new programs recently with Let's Start Over Hope, things that have been really fun. But really, I thought I'd use tonight for a little more just informative. I know you guys stay up to date on all things pressing for our corporation, but with that being said, there are some things, this year I've been lucky enough to kind of be part of the ISP board, and so I've been kind of more involved and trying to get more informed on what's going on. And with that, you know, a lot of this has to do with our new accountability model that's coming out this year. And so I was just going to kind of brief you on that, and then what Hope is doing, trying to kind of get ready for that and prepare for that. So if we can go to the next slide. So with the new school accountability model, obviously, we all know letter grades are coming back at the end of this year. So what that will look like exactly is not fully finalized, but at the same time, they are coming back. What does that mean? It means at some point we're going to have a letter grade. You know, it's going to be this model. This is kind of already set, so it's going to be your standard kind of grading model of the 90, 80, 70, 60. So that's just kind of general information. On the next slide, this is kind of what is coming out. This is the second round of adjustments, and this is what I just want everyone to be aware of, and something I'm sharing with my teachers very soon and my leadership team tomorrow, just so that we're aware, because I think anything, when you're working towards something, you know what the goal looks like and what it's going to be, you know, kind of obtaining. And so there are some challenges with it, and those are things I want us to know about. You know, initially when they presented it to our ISP board and things, they talked about how the growth was going to be the most important piece, and that was really exciting. The individual student growth was going to be the focus. As it's rolled out, I will say it definitely matters, but there is some accountability pieces of your iLearn assessment that really are still kind of that driving force. Some positives, I mean, it is individual student based, so every student counts individually and then the total, you know, instead of just your cumulative score. But with that, you know, as I look through this, I just wanted everyone to kind of have an overall understanding. So, you know, on iLearn, and this is for grades 4 through 8, if you are below expectation, you're going to hit a 0 in that first column. The success indicators, which are up above, you know, growth targets, there's 2 different growth targets that you can hit. There's a 94% attendance target, which could be a growth indicator, a success indicator as well. Passing social studies, iLearn, science, iLearn are 2 other ways for the 4 through 6 to hit their indicators as well. Obviously, you know, my worrisome part is that, you know, students that might, you know, be underachieving on the iLearn, you know, the highest score that they're going to be able to achieve for us, even with, you know, 2 growth models, 2 growth indicators, and a attendance target is a 60. You know, so the best they can possibly do is going to be a D for us. on that grade card. You know, as you can see, as you're approaching, you start at a 40. As you're at and above, you start at a 60. The nice thing is that, you know, there are taking feedback still from teachers, boards, everything else. There's a JOT form from the DOE that is kind of taking input. I've put in input multiple times there. You know, I do have concerns with this model. I look at it and, you know, I think of iLearn as our ultimate, you know, it's supposed to be our measurement tool. So when you're measuring that and you're passing it, but then you start at a 60, it's a little concerning to me because your goal is to pass iLearn, you pass iLearn, and you are rated a D. And then you have to earn other ways to grow up. I know, you know, everyone doesn't put all stock into these letter grades and these accountability models, and I appreciate that. At the same time, I really do care about the image we present and the students we're able to, you know, receive and take in. We have a lot of out-of-district transfers that we very much pride ourselves in, and I want people to know the great school that we have.
So Kyle, before you move on, I'm just going to ask, so just to put this kind of in, because we don't see these things often with the approaching and the below expectation. I see them as a parent, I know that those are on those assessments. If my kiddo is approaching expectations in that yellow column,
Yeah.
you're saying that if they, to earn 80 points there on the third column there, they have to have 2 of those things above. They
Yeah.
either have to have a really good attendance and pass either science or social studies.
Or hit the growth indicator, which there's 2 different growth indicators. One hits, I want to say if it's 42 points of growth, another one hits, they hit like 60 some, they have a second growth indicator as well. So there's a way to kind of hit that superior growth as well, which is something that I'm very much as a staff, and that's always my biggest push is the growth factor. I don't care where they start, I want to see where they finish. And so, you know, but yes, you are correct. If they want to move from approaching, if they want to score an 80, they have to hit 2 out of this line, which, I mean, they could hit WIDA in those grade levels. Obviously, high school credits aren't being handed out in elementary, but they can pass social studies, science, be 94% or higher in their attendance, or growth indicators.
And I think it's obvious we can see that some of the attendance being a key factor with some of our lower performing kids also have lower attendance rates. And so there's correlations there that do make it harder to score those points. And so having strategies for all these different things, you can see that that's a lot of work for administrators, a lot of work for teachers. But we really, to move the needle, we have, I think the difference with this plan compared to past grade, our letter grades and some of the models is that we have a little more opportunity to be able to catch kids in different areas. And so it's a little wider spread.
I do think it's a step in the right direction. And like I said, the adjustments I've asked for and mentioned to them were just the idea of maybe not, you know, I think not starting at such a low level. You know, if you pass iLearn, I don't think you should be able to start lower than an 80, you know, like, because that's kind of your goal. In the same way, I don't know, you know, there's a lot of studies been done on going to zeros, because once you're at a 0, it's really hard to climb out. And so, you know, I think that there's something to be said for looking at that. So I'm in discussion with it. You know, we're continuing to offer suggestions, but I wanted you all to have kind of an image of what's coming, because obviously it is going to impact us. You know, and the other piece that I've, you know, put in there is also just, you know, making sure that we're studying and making sure we're staying up to date with the iLearn, the validity of iLearn. You know, it's a test that, like I said, I looked at the numbers before, and I mean, overall, students in third grade that passed both overall last year in the state was 31.2%. So, I mean, with that kind of concept in mind, that's a big challenge to, you know, when you think about how many kids are going to start off in a very number. But with that, you know, in the end, it doesn't matter. You know, and one thing I love about the corporation where
I think you have a question.
oh, yes.
What are the growth indicators? How many and what were they?
The growth indicators are all about the iLearn. So depending
Okay.
upon how you did from one iLearn to the next.
Okay.
So if you grow a grade level band, you know, like the expected growth of that grade level, so I think that's 42 points, something like that. It is, that's your first growth indicator. If you do exceptional growth, you can hit a second growth, you can hit a second growth indicator, but it's all based on your iLearn scores.
And how many times are we testing them throughout the year, throughout the average school year? I know iLearn is one big. How many times are we doing the other tests?
Absolutely. So the iLearn checkpoint, 3 iLearn checkpoints. We are actually doing first iLearn checkpoint we're doing twice, and the second iLearn checkpoint we're doing twice the third one we're doing once. So when you break that down, now with that, the big thing to understand is that the island checkpoints are very small. So that is a whole different model than it used to be when we were doing, NWA or some of these other assessments that were very time consuming. The checkpoint for, it is usually, in that 40-minute range for a math, 40 minutes, like it's a class period. So, they are achieved, so it's not nearly as taxing. They are based on minimal number of standards. So in like the Island Checkpoint 1 is based on, just a small amount of standards that they should have hit early. And then the reason we're doing it twice is just really for a way to measure. So we're taking the first time, seeing how we do, timing it, reteaching it, and then taking it again. We just finished the second round of Checkpoint 1.
Okay.
And honestly, we've seen good growth from one the second time. And so it's just a way for us to have some data and some ways to study and make sure students are getting what they need to know.
Well, and I'm just gonna say this, you've heard me say it before, I am no fan of standardized testing. I think it's the biggest waste of time on the face of the planet, but I'll go on record saying it, I don't care. But, I think you guys are doing great with the way you handle it, don't get me wrong, but I think it's a waste.
That's a challenge. And so, like I said, for us, we've noticed some things and, some challenges and noticing where they have to get to and where we've been, our scores, and this being the first time we've got a letter grade, I think since 2017, there's going to be some jumping there. There's some things we've implemented, which I'm really excited about. We started last year. We're starting to fine tune them this year. The pre-flight checklist, this is like our English language, our reading checklist. We have a math one as well. This every student has. And we have student data binders, which are on there as well. It's in every student's data binder. And really, it's our K-2 process. But really, it's just our system of, they are short assessed on all these pieces. So letter ID lowercase, letter ID uppercase. Once they can show mastery, they're checked off, they're moving on. That way we know where every child is in this reading process. We are doing JETS groups with it. So once we know where they're at, we form small groups. Every student in our building is in small groups every week to where we're running through cycles and then reassessing, which we're talking about reassessing, we're talking about 2-minute assessments. So to see where they are at in those processes and how we can move them along. That initiation, that's our adjustment from our old title program to our new title program is how we utilize our JETS groups, our checklists, and our student data binders. Those data binders do run K-6. So, obviously, students are in charge of charting their own growth. They, are checking those growths. They're measuring how they're improving, in the higher level.